Hey folks, today I'll be taking you through this Void bow build and share some general bow rapier PvP tips, along with some clips. You'll notice I use different abilities and heart rune gems. I'll share what I think works best for this build at the end of the video. Oh, and if you haven't already, alright, montage time. First tip, patience. Wait for the roll that you know is about to come. Charge a heavy attack. You have time as a bow user. Patience is crucial to team play. If a teammate of yours stuns someone, wait. Don't break their stun with a light attack. Charge a heavy and wait until the follow-up CC has the enemy on the ground. If you're not careful, you can break the stun and get that enemy out of a lot more damage than what you dealt, like I did here. Tip number 2, target priority. Now obviously, the healer is your target. At any point in an arena match, and even in OPR and wars, you want to kill the healer. It's going to make everyone else a lot easier to kill. The exception to this, of course, would be if you see someone at 1 HP, you know that you can one-tap them with a bow. Finish them off, of course. When I say target priority, I do mean you can completely ignore the person attacking you and make sure that you're still shooting the healer. You can do this by being aware of how much damage the other player does. Knowing when you're going to have to dodge or pop riposte, it is insanely helpful if you have someone diving the healer and as a bow user, you help them with that little bit of extra damage. Third tip is for the rapid shot ability in the bow tree. Arguably the most DPS you can pump out with a single ability, the penetrating rapid shot perk is absolutely a must. It gives you more armor penetration. You want to make sure that you're hitting the same target with all 3 shots whenever possible. You can do this by waiting until someone is out of stamina or waiting until someone is in a grav well or rooted. The reason you want to do this is it actually cuts the cooldown in half for rapid shot if you hit the same target with all 3 shots. Tip 4, keep an eye on nameplates. People often peek corners. You can charge a heavy or throw down a rain of arrows. Still hit someone 50% of the time. Tip 5 is less of a tip and more just something I think I should address. I know that Rain of Arrows is definitely not the most meta ability, especially in Arena. I love Rain of Arrows. It's my favorite ability in the game, and I just won't give it up. I think the reason that I like it so much is it reminds me of Artemis from the MOBA Smite and her very similar ability. The way that I use Rain of Arrows to hit people from behind corners. You can see that you can't have a line of sight on someone, but you can still place a Rain of Arrows correctly. I would suggest if you do plan on using Rain of Arrows, only use it when you know where someone's going to be standing 2 seconds from now. I'd also suggest that you get really good at aiming Rain of Arrows without even using the circle. Sometimes I'll fire off Rain of Arrows before the targeter even shows up because there's quite a bit of a delay. If you notice a teammate even just winding up to throw a grav well, get your Rain of Arrows ready. Perfect example of when Rain of Arrows can do a ton of DPS. Tip number 7, and this might be controversial, but you should be using Rapier aggressively in arenas or in small encounters inside of OPR and wars. Never use it into clumps. In OPR and wars, you want to basically stay away from the clumps. But in arena or in 1v1 situations, the Rapier is incredibly strong aggressively. Your basic combo is going to be, if you can, riposte, heavy attack directly into flourish and finish. Then you've got the option to follow up with light attacks from your bow, or you can flesh after them and keep going after them with the rapier. This is risky though. You're using all of your mobility, to go after someone, so make sure that there isn't one of their teammates about to follow up and hammer stun you. It's really situational. Sometimes it is better to hang back and just use your bow after you've riposted them. You really want to judge each situation on a case-by-case basis and just make the best decision you can. Now, the main reason to pair rapier with your bow is not so that you can do damage with the rapier. Realistically, rapier is the best getaway weapon in the game. That's why we're using it. I actually prefer to use riposte, flesh, and flourish and finish. I don't use evade. This is just my preferred playstyle. I love that riposte keeps me safe. Flesh and flourish and finish both give me a getaway skill, movement ability. I understand that you have the iframes inside of evade. I do find flourish and finish having grit is very good situationally, and I just prefer it over the evade skill. Let me know what you use down below in the comments. As far as using riposte, a lot of people say it's too easy to dodge, so riposte isn't even that good. I tend to disagree. You want to use riposte specifically to avoid damage from afar and to stun players that you know are animation locked. So that means if someone's going for a hammer stun, someone is stabbing you with a spear, there's a couple of other situations, but if you know that they're stuck in an ability that's going to hit you, you can riposte right before and it's a guaranteed stun. I think in PvP games like this, it's totally fine to taunt your opponent. Just make sure you're not being toxic in chat. Here's a bonus tip for Arena that doesn't just apply to bow. Set up your attributes in such a way that you're 40 points shy of where your con needs to be for your build. And that way, if you're finding that you don't need the extra con, you can actually use the food for intelligence or dex or strength to do a little bit more damage given the specific matchup that you're facing. You can even do it in between rounds really easily. Alright, here is a look at the build that I settled on. The armor perks, I would say in order of importance, are Resilient, of course, you want it on all 5 pieces. Refreshing or Refreshing Evasion. Refreshing Evasion slightly better for the longer cooldown bow abilities. And then finally your weapon perks, if you can get them. Triple Rapid Shot is a must. The other weapon perks are, I would say optional, but good to have. For Rune Glass Gems on armor, for this entire build video, I have Abyssal on all of my armor pieces so that the Abyss portion of my bow attacks do the most damage. After testing this, I've actually changed my mind, and I do think that Sighted Rune Glass on all of your armor would be better suited. Now for the weapons themselves, I still truly believe that directing as much damage away from thrust damage is beneficial, so Augmented Abyssal for both weapons. As for perks, you want Abyssal Attunement or Arboreal Attunement if you happen to be going the nature route. You also want Keenly Jagged on the bow, that's a must. I have Vorpal. I would honestly rather have Vicious, but this was just the right price on the TP, so I bought it. Rapier here, I'm just maxing out Abyss damage with Shirking Abyss, but realistically you probably want Refreshing Evasion or Refreshing Move, as well as if you like, you can even have a weapon perk right on your Rapier since you're mainly using it to get away. For bow abilities, here's what I like to use. If you don't want to use Rain of Arrows, you're definitely going to want Penetrating Shot or Explosive Arrow. For jewelry, I'm using a budget setup. All of these came from Mobs in the World or the PvP track. The Champion's Earring, I would say you could also use the Champion's Amulet if you'd like. And the Gash Ring is an absolute must, I think. Hardy, Keen Awareness, and Bloodletting is BIS for this build, absolutely. Thanks so much for sticking around to the end. That's all I've got for now. I'll see you in Eternum.